When my ex-boyfriend Derek dumped me for a woman named Chloe, I did what any self-respecting person would do. I ate my feelings. Specifically, I ate my grandmother's famous apple pie, the one with the secret caramel layer and the crumb topping that made people weep. I ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I ate it until the pie was gone, and my grief was temporarily numbed by sugar and butter. What I didn't know was that Chloe, the new girlfriend, had been taking notes. Literal notes. During our double dates, while I was being nice, trying to bond, she was asking innocent questions about my family's recipes. And I, idiot that I was, answered them all. Let me rewind. My name is Sophie. I'm a food writer, which means I spend my days thinking about, writing about, and eating food. My family is Greek on my mother's side, Polish on my father's, which means our recipe box is a glorious chaos of pierogies and baklava, stuffed grape leaves, and kielbasa. My grandmother, Yaya Eleni, was the keeper of the culinary flame. Before she died, she spent a year teaching me her recipes, not just the ingredients, but the techniques, the secrets, the stories behind each dish. The recipe is not just flour and sugar, she'd say, her hands covered in dough. It's love. It's memory. It's who we are. I met Derek at a food festival 3 years ago. He was handsome, charming, and genuinely interested in my work. We bonded over a shared love of obscure spices and perfect pastry. He'd come over for dinner, rave about my cooking, beg for seconds. I thought he was the one. Then came Chloe. She was a friend of a friend, introduced at a party. Derek was immediately fascinated. She was edgy, mysterious, a creative who'd just moved to the city. I tried to be cool, to be friends, to welcome her into our circle. Big mistake. Chloe was always asking questions. At first, it seemed like genuine interest. How do you get your pie crust so flaky? What's the secret to your grandmother's baklava? Do you have the recipe written down somewhere? I answered because that's what food people do. We share. We teach. We pass it on. What I didn't realize was that Chloe wasn't learning. She was collecting. Derek and I lasted another 6 months after Chloe entered the picture. Then, on a rainy Tuesday, he sat me down and delivered the cliché. I'm just not happy. I think we need different things. 2 weeks later, I saw them together at a coffee shop holding hands. 3 weeks after that, she moved into his apartment. I was devastated. But I was also a professional. I threw myself into my work, wrote a successful series on heritage recipes, and tried to forget about Derek and Chloe. Then, a year later, I saw the Instagram post. The post was from a food blogger I followed. So excited for the grand opening of Honey and Thyme Bakery tomorrow. Owner Chloe Mitchell is bringing her grandmother's secret recipes to the neighborhood. Get there early. These pies won't last. I stared at the post, my blood running cold. Chloe Mitchell, the woman who'd stolen my boyfriend, now opening a bakery with her grandmother's secret recipes. I clicked on the bakery's profile. Photos of perfect pies, golden crusts, artful drizzles. And there, in the description, inspired by generations of family baking, owner Chloe Mitchell brings her grandmother's cherished recipes to life. Come, taste the love. I zoomed in on the pie photos. The apple pie with the caramel layer. The baklava with the honey rose water syrup. The pierogies with the secret mushroom filling. They were my recipes. My grandmother's recipes. The ones I'd shared with Chloe over glasses of wine, thinking I was bonding with a friend. I felt sick. Then I felt angry. Then I felt something else. A cold, determined clarity. I called my cousin Nico, a lawyer. Nico, can you copyright a recipe? He laughed. Sort of. Recipes themselves aren't copyrightable, but the written expression of them can be. If you have her original handwritten cards, with her notes, her stories, that's intellectual property. Why? I told him the story. By the end, he wasn't laughing. Sophie, this is serious. If she's using her family's recipes, passing them off as her own, that's not just unethical, it could be legally actionable. Do you have proof? Proof. Timestamps. Emails. Anything that shows you shared these recipes with her and that she's now using them commercially. I thought about it. The conversations had all been in person, over food, in the warm glow of shared meals.
No emails. No texts.
No paper trail. But I had something else. I had my grandmother's recipe box. Handwritten cards, some over 50 years old, with her notes, her stains, her memories. And I had my own food blog with posts dating back years, describing these very recipes in loving detail. I spent the next 48 hours documenting everything. I photographed every recipe card. I printed out every blog post. I created a timeline showing when each recipe had been shared with Chloe, based on my memory and the dates of our interactions. Then I bought a pie from Honey and Thyme Bakery, which had opened quietly for a soft launch before the grand opening. I walked in, pretended to be a curious customer, and bought a slice of the famous apple pie. I took it home, tasted it, and confirmed what I already knew. It was my grandmother's recipe.
Exactly.
Down to the secret caramel layer that I'd never seen anywhere else. I had proof. Now I needed a plan. Nico advised me to send a cease and desist letter before the grand opening. It might scare her into changing her menu, or at least acknowledging the source. No, I said. That's too easy. She stole my boyfriend, and now she's stealing my family's heritage. I want her to face this publicly. I want everyone to know what she did. Sophie, revenge is messy, and it could backfire. I'm not seeking revenge. I'm seeking justice. With butter. The grand opening was scheduled for Saturday at 10 a.m. Food bloggers, local influencers, and a reporter from the city's food section were all planning to attend. It was going to be Chloe's big moment. I decided to make it mine. I spent the next 2 days preparing. I baked my grandmother's apple pie from scratch, using her original recipe card. I printed out copies of my blog posts, with timestamps. I wrote a simple, clear statement. These recipes belong to my family. They were shared in confidence, not for commercial use. I put everything in a basket, covered with a cloth, like a picnic. On Saturday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. I put on my best dress, the one my grandmother had given me. I took a deep breath, picked up my basket, and headed to Honey and Thyme Bakery. The line was already forming when I arrived. Food bloggers, neighborhood residents, curious tourists, all waiting to taste Chloe's family recipes. I walked past them, straight to the front door, and knocked. Chloe answered, her face flushed with excitement. When she saw me, the color drained away. Sophie, what are you doing here? I brought a gift for your grand opening, I said, holding on my basket. My grandmother's apple pie. I thought you might want to compare. So, what happens next? Does Chloe let me in? Do the food bloggers witness the confrontation? And what does my basket really contain? Let me know your theories in the comments. Part 2 is the grand opening and the reckoning.
Subscribe.
Chloe's face went through approximately 17 shades of pale before settling on a waxy, terrified white. Behind her, I could see the bakery. All shiplap and mason jars and chalkboard menus, the uniform of the artisanal food movement. Customers milled about, sampling pastries, taking photos for Instagram. A food blogger I recognized was interviewing a young couple about their experience. It was Chloe's dream, realized. And I was about to turn it into a nightmare. Sophie, you can't be here, she hissed, her voice low and urgent. This is my day. Please, just go. I smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. But I brought a gift. For your grand opening. It would be rude not to accept it. Chloe glanced behind her, at the growing crowd, at the food blogger who was now looking our way with curiosity.
Fine. Come in.
But don't cause a scene. She stepped aside, and I walked into Honey and Thyme Bakery. The place was beautiful, I'll give her that. White tile, brass fixtures, a long glass case filled with perfect pastries. My pastries. The baklava gleamed with honey syrup. The pierogies were golden and plump. And there, in the place of honor, was the apple pie, my grandmother's apple pie, with its signature lattice crust and caramel drizzle. I set my basket on the counter and pulled back the cloth. Inside was my grandmother's pie, identical in every way to the ones in the case. Next to it was a folder containing the evidence, recipe cards, blog post printouts, a timeline. A customer nearby noticed. "Oh, are those from the bakery too?" "No," I said, loud enough for others to hear. "This is my grandmother's recipe. The same recipe that's in that case." The customer looked confused. A few heads turned. Chloe rushed over, her face flushed. "Sophie, please. Let's talk in the back." "Let's talk here," I said, still loud. "These people are here to taste your family recipes. I think they deserve to know where those recipes actually came from." The food blogger, a woman named Rachel with a serious Instagram following, had stopped her interview and was now watching us intently. Her phone was out, recording. Chloe's voice dropped to a furious whisper. "You have no proof. Recipes can't be owned. Everyone makes apple pie." I opened the folder and pulled out my grandmother's recipe card. It was yellowed, stained, covered in her looping handwriting. "This card is 50 years old. It belonged to my grandmother, Annee Papadakis. She taught me these recipes. And last year, I taught them to you over dinner, at parties, while you pretended to be my friend." A murmur ran through the crowd. Rachel stepped closer, her camera still rolling. Chloe's composure cracked. That's ridiculous. I developed these recipes myself. I've been baking for years." "Then you won't mind a taste test," I said. I pulled a knife from my basket and cut 2 slices, one from her pie, one from mine. "Everyone here is welcome to try both. See if you can tell the difference." I held out the plates. Chloe stared at them, frozen. A brave customer stepped forward. A young woman with purple hair and a nose ring. "I'll try." She tasted Chloe's pie first, then mine. Her eyes widened.
"They're the same," she said.
"Exactly the same." Another customer tried. Then another. Each time, the same result. The crowd was growing, murmuring, phones out, recording everything. Rachel, the food blogger, was now conducting interviews, with customers, not with Chloe. "What do you think of this situation?" she asked the purple-haired woman. "I think someone's been stealing recipes," the woman said, grinning. "And I think this is the best bakery opening I've ever been to." Chloe's face was a mask of fury and humiliation. Derek, my ex, emerged from the back, looking confused. "What's going on?" Chloe, he saw me and stopped dead. "Hi, Derek," I said cheerfully. "Nice bakery your girlfriend stole from my grandmother." The crowd actually laughed. Someone cheered. Derek grabbed Chloe's arm and pulled her into the back, hissing something I couldn't hear. I turned to the crowd, still holding my grandmother's recipe card. "For those who want the real thing," I said, "my grandmother's recipes are available on my food blog.
Free.
Because that's what family recipes should be, shared, not stolen." I gathered my basket, my folder, and the remains of my pie, and walked out of Honey and Thyme Bakery to the sound of applause. The video went viral. Rachel, the food blogger, posted it within hours. By the next morning, it had 1 million views. By the end of the week, it was on the news, on talk shows, everywhere. Chloe's bakery became a cautionary tale. The food bloggers who'd lined up for her grand opening deleted their posts. The investors pulled out. Within a month, Honey and Thyme Bakery was closed. Chloe and Derek disappeared from the food scene entirely. I heard they moved to another state, started over, tried to escape the scandal. I didn't care. They were no longer my problem. But the story wasn't over. A week after the grand opening, I got a letter. Handwritten, on fancy stationery, from an address I didn't recognize. It was from Chloe. "Sophie, I know you have no reason to listen to me. I know I deserve your contempt. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not for the bakery. That was a dream, and it's gone. I'm sorry for pretending to be your friend. I'm sorry for using you. I'm sorry for taking something that wasn't mine. I grew up without family recipes, without traditions, without that sense of belonging you had. I was jealous. I wanted what you had. And instead of asking for help, instead of being honest, I tried to take it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I know what I did was wrong, and that I'm trying to be better. Chloe." So, what do I do with this letter?
Do I respond?
Do I ignore it? And what does it mean for the future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Part 3 is about the aftermath and the unexpected twist that changes everything.
Subscribe.
I didn't respond to Chloe's letter. I couldn't. Every time I tried to write back, the anger would rise up again. Not the hot, righteous anger of the grand opening, but something colder and more complicated. She'd stolen my recipes, yes. But she'd also stolen something harder to name, the sense of safety that comes from sharing yourself with someone. I'd trusted her. I'd opened my home, my kitchen, my grandmother's legacy to her. And she'd used it all as raw material for her own dream. The bakery was gone. But the betrayal lingered, a stain I couldn't scrub out. The weeks after the grand opening were a blur. My food blog traffic exploded. Publishers reached out, asking if I'd write a cookbook. News outlets wanted interviews. I became, overnight, a minor celebrity in the food world. The woman who'd taken down a recipe thief with a pie and a grandmother's recipe card. I said yes to some things, no to others. I wrote a piece for a major magazine about the importance of culinary heritage. I did a few interviews, always focusing on my grandmother, on the recipes, on the stories behind them. I tried to keep the focus on what mattered, the food, the family, the tradition. But the questions always came back to Chloe. Do you feel bad about what happened to her bakery? Have you heard from her? Would you ever forgive her? I didn't have good answers. The truth was complicated. Meanwhile, my own life was changing. The cookbook deal meant I could quit my freelance gigs and focus entirely on writing. I spent hours in the kitchen, recreating my grandmother's recipes, testing variations, writing down every detail. It was therapeutic and painful in equal measure. Every recipe held a memory. Every memory held a ghost. One afternoon, I was testing her spanakopita recipe, the perfect ratio of feta to spinach, the delicate layers of phyllo, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Sophie. It was a woman's voice. Unfamiliar. This is Sophie. My name is Anna.
I'm
Chloe's sister. I sat down heavily.
Oh.
I know you have no reason to talk to me. I know what she did was terrible. But I'm calling because she's not doing well. The bakery closing, the public humiliation, it broke her. She's been in a dark place. And I thought maybe if you knew, maybe you'd understand why she did what she did. I listened as Anna told me their story. They'd grown up in foster care, moving from house to house, never staying long enough to put down roots. No family recipes. No grandmother's kitchen. No sense of belonging. Chloe had always been hungry, not just for food, but for identity, for history, for something to call her own. When she met you, she was obsessed. Not in a creepy way, in a longing way. She wanted what you had. The stories, the traditions, the love. She didn't know how to ask for it, so she took it. I'm not excusing what she did. I'm just trying to explain. I was quiet for a long moment. Anna, I'm sorry for what you and your sister went through.
Truly.
But that doesn't give her the right to steal my family's heritage. I know. I'm not asking you to forgive her. I'm just asking you to understand. And maybe to consider that she's not a monster. She's just a broken person who made terrible choices. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, surrounded by the smells of my grandmother's cooking, thinking about Chloe. About the little girl who'd never had a grandmother's kitchen. About the woman who'd tried to build one from stolen ingredients. I didn't know what to do with any of it. A few weeks later, I got an invitation. A small, independent bakery in a nearby town was hosting a community baking class. Learn to make your grandmother's recipes. The owner, a woman named Rosa, had reached out after reading my magazine piece. She wanted to collaborate on a series of classes celebrating heritage baking. I said yes. The first class was a revelation. 10 people, all ages, all backgrounds, gathered around a communal table. Some had recipes passed down for generations. Others had nothing, just a longing to connect with a past they'd never known. We baked together, shared stories, tasted each other's work. It was messy and beautiful, and exactly what I needed. At the end of the class, a young woman approached me. She was shy, nervous, clutching a folded piece of paper. Sophie?
I'm Maya. I.
I was at Chloe's grand opening. I was one of the customers who tried the pies. I tensed, but her expression was open, earnest. I just wanted to say thank you. Not for what happened to Chloe, that was sad, but for standing up for your family, for showing that some things are worth fighting for. It made me think about my own grandmother, about the recipes she tried to teach me before she died. I've started cooking them again. It's like she's still here. I hugged her. I couldn't help it. The classes became a regular thing. Every month, a new group of people, a new set of recipes, a new round of stories. I started documenting them on my blog, creating a virtual archive of heritage baking. The response was overwhelming. People sent me their own family recipes, their own stories, their own photos of grandmothers in flour-dusted aprons. I was healing. Slowly, painfully, but truly. Then, 6 months after the grand opening, I got another letter. This one was different. No fancy stationery, no careful handwriting. Just a plain envelope, a single sheet of paper. Sophie, I've been in treatment for the last 4 months. Inpatient. For depression, for trauma, for all the things I never dealt with. It's been hard. It's been good. I'm writing to tell you that I'm not the person I was. I'm not asking for anything, just letting you know. I've started baking again, but only for myself. Small things. Simple things. I'm learning to make my own recipes, my own traditions. It's slow. It's hard. But it's mine.
Thank you for stopping me.
I needed to be stopped. Chloe. So, what do I do with this letter?
Do I respond?
Do I reach out? And what does it mean for both of us, this strange, painful journey we've been on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Part 4 is about forgiveness, healing, and the unexpected places they can be found.
Subscribe.
I held Chloe's letter for 3 weeks before I decided what to do. I read it dozens of times, each time feeling something different: anger, pity, curiosity, a strange kind of respect. She'd done the work. She'd gone to treatment. She was trying to become someone different. But was that enough? Could I ever look at her without seeing the woman who'd stolen my grandmother's legacy? I didn't know. But I knew one thing. I couldn't keep carrying this weight forever. So I wrote back. Just a few lines. I'd like to meet. Neutral ground.
No cameras, no crowds, no drama.
Just 2 people talking. If you're ready. She agreed. We chose a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town, the kind of place where no one would recognize either of us. I arrived first, ordered tea, sat at a corner table with my back to the wall, a habit I developed since the viral video made me recognizable. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what I expected to feel. Anger? Sadness? Closure? The door opened and Chloe walked in. She looked different. Thinner, yes, but also softer somehow. The hard edges I remembered, the ambition, the hunger, the desperate grab for something she didn't have were gone. In their place was something quieter, more present. She spotted me, hesitated for just a moment, then walked over. Sophie. Her voice was tentative.
Chloe.
Sit down. She did, folding her hands on the table like a nervous job applicant. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Here we were, 2 women connected by the strangest, most painful history, meeting for coffee like old acquaintances. Thank you for coming, she said. I didn't come for you. I came for me. She nodded, accepting that. Okay. We sat in silence for a moment. The barista called out an order. Someone laughed at the next table. Normal life, continuing around us, oblivious to the weight of this conversation. I read your letter, I said finally. The one from treatment. It sounded honest. It was. It is. I've spent the last year doing nothing but being honest. With my therapist, with my sister, with myself. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. Why should I believe you? She met my eyes. You shouldn't. Not yet. Not without proof. But I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just asking you to listen. So I listened. She told me about growing up in foster care, about the constant moving, the never belonging, about the fantasy she'd built of a normal family with normal traditions, a grandmother's kitchen full of love and flour. about meeting me and feeling, for the first time, like she'd found a piece of that fantasy. "I didn't set out to steal from you," she said. "It happened gradually. I'd ask about a recipe, and you'd share it so freely, so generously. I started writing them down. Not with a plan, just collecting. Like I was building a scrapbook of a life I wished I'd had." "When did it become a plan?" She hesitated. "When Derek and I got together. He talked about opening a bakery someday, about how I had such a gift with food. I started thinking, maybe I could use what I'd learned. Maybe I could build something of my own. Using my grandmother's recipes." "Using your grandmother's recipes?" She looked down at her hands. "I told myself it was inspiration, not theft. That recipes evolve, that everyone builds on what came before. But I knew, deep down, what I was doing. I just didn't want to stop." "Why did you stop?" "Because you showed up. With your basket and your pie and your grandmother's recipe card. And I realized in that moment that I'd been lying to myself. That what I'd built was never really mine. That I'd hurt someone who'd only ever been kind to me." I thought about that moment, the grand opening, the crowd, the look on her face when she saw me. I'd been so focused on my own righteous anger that I hadn't seen the person behind it. A broken person, yes, but still a person. "What do you want now?" I asked. She looked up, her eyes wet. "I don't know. I don't want your forgiveness. I know I haven't earned it. I don't want to be friends. That would be pretending something that isn't true. I wanted you to know that I see what I did. That I'm trying to be different. That the person who stole from you is gone." "Is she?" Chloe was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. I hope so. I'm working on it every day." We talked for another hour after that. About her treatment, about my cookbook, about the strange, painful process of becoming who we are. When we finally stood to leave, something had shifted. Not forgiveness. That was still too far away. But understanding. A recognition that we were both human, both flawed, both trying to find our way. "Sophie," Chloe said at the door. I turned. "Thank you. For coming. For listening. For seeing me." I nodded. "Take care of yourself, Chloe. You too." I walked out of that coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in months. The anger was still there, but it was smaller now, less consuming. In its place was something I hadn't expected. Compassion. Not for what Chloe had done. That was still wrong, still painful. But for who she was and who she was trying to become. The next few months were strange. Chloe and I exchanged occasional emails, short, careful, like two people learning a new language. She told me about her new job at a community kitchen, teaching cooking classes to kids in foster care. "I'm trying to give them what I never had," she wrote. "Not recipes, belonging." I kept teaching my heritage baking classes. The cookbook came out, dedicated to my grandmother and to all the grandmothers who taught us to cook and all the people who never had one. It sold well, got good reviews, found its way into kitchens across the country. Then, one day, I got an invitation. Chloe was hosting a fundraiser for the community kitchen, a bake sale, featuring recipes from the kids she taught. She asked if I'd come. So what do I do?
Do ego.
And if I do, what does it mean for both of us? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The final part is about forgiveness, community, and the unexpected ways we heal.
Subscribe.
The community center was a modest building in a part of town I rarely visited. Fluorescent lights, scuffed floors, the smell of cleaning supplies, and hope. I almost didn't go. The invitation had sat on my kitchen counter for 2 weeks, a constant reminder of a question I couldn't answer. But something, curiosity, compassion, the ghost of my grandmother whispering in my ear, pushed me out the door. When I arrived, the bake sale was in full swing. Tables lined the walls, covered in cookies and cupcakes and pies, all made by kids who'd never had a grandmother's kitchen. And behind the main table, organizing everything, was Chloe.
She saw me the moment I walked in.
Her face lit up, not with the desperate, hungry expression I remembered, but with something softer. Grateful. She waved me over. "Sophie, you came." I came. I looked around the room. Kids of all ages, laughing, serving customers, proudly pointing out their creations. A little girl with pigtails thrust a cupcake at me. I made this one. It's chocolate with sprinkles. It's beautiful, I said and meant it. Chloe led me to a quiet corner. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. To me and to them. Tell me about this place.
She did.
The community kitchen had started as a small program teaching basic cooking skills to foster kids. It had grown into something bigger, a place where kids could come after school, learn to bake, sell their creations, feel proud of something they'd made. Chloe had been volunteering for 6 months, then got hired as a part-time coordinator. It's not a bakery, she said. It's better. These kids, they don't have family recipes. They don't have grandmother's kitchens. But they're creating their own. And that's something. I watched a teenage boy carefully arrange cookies on a platter, his face focused, intent. He looked up, caught me watching, and smiled shyly. He's been in 5 foster homes in 3 years, Chloe said quietly. Last week, he told me this is the first place he's ever felt like he belongs. I felt tears prick my eyes. This was it. This was what my grandmother had tried to teach me, that food isn't just recipes. It's love. It's connection. It's belonging. I have something for you, Chloe said. She reached under the table and pulled out a small box, wrapped in brown paper. Open it later. Not here. I took the box, curious. The bake sale was a success. They raised over $2,000, enough to keep the program running for another 6 months. I bought cookies from every kid, filled a bag with their creations, and left with a full heart and a head full of questions. At home, I opened the box. Inside was a recipe card, handwritten on plain paper. Not my grandmother's, Chloe's. A recipe for something called belonging bread. Below it, a note. Sophie, this is my recipe. My own. I developed it over months, experimenting, failing, trying again. It's not as good as your grandmother's. Nothing will be. But it's mine. And I wanted you to have it. Thank you for teaching me that some things are worth fighting for. Thank you for showing up even when you didn't have to. Thank you for seeing me, even when I couldn't see myself. Chloe. I held the recipe card for a long time, tears streaming down my face. Not from sadness, from something more complicated. Relief, maybe. Or the slow, painful release of anger I'd been carrying for years. The next day, I baked the bread. It was simple, rustic, imperfect. It tasted like hope. I sent Chloe a photo of the loaf with a note. It's good. Not as good as my grandmother's, but good. Keep baking. She replied with a single word. Always. The micro-niche here isn't just recipe theft or culinary revenge. It's about the long, painful work of forgiveness, not for the other person, but for yourself. It's about recognizing that broken people do broken things, but that doesn't mean they're beyond healing. It's about understanding that family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up, who keep baking, who keep trying. Chloe still runs the community kitchen. I still teach my heritage baking classes. Sometimes our paths cross, at food events, at charity fundraisers, at the farmer's market. We're not friends. We'll never be friends. But we're something else. 2 women connected by a strange, painful history, both trying to make something good out of the crumbs. My grandmother's recipes are in a cookbook now, shared with thousands of people. Her legacy lives on, not just in my kitchen, but in kitchens across the country. And somewhere, in a community center in a forgotten part of town, a teenage boy who's never had a home is learning to bake cookies and feel like he belongs. That's the twist. Not revenge. Not justice. Redemption for both of us. Have you ever had something precious stolen from you? Did you find a way to forgive? Or are you still carrying the weight? Share your stories in the comments below. Let's talk about the messy, complicated work of letting go. And if this story of recipes, betrayal, and hard-won peace resonated with you, share it. Sometimes, the most important recipes aren't written down, they're baked into who we become. Thanks for listening.